Welcome to Fear It Goes, the podcast all about taking your fears with you and doing it anyway. I'm your host, Brandy Taylor. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Fear It Goes. We are starting the health series. I'm very excited to bring you this as I have had some of the most interesting experiences over the last month and a half, which has led me down the path to actually create the health protocol. But I'm totally getting ahead of myself, which I don't want to do. So let's talk about what I've experienced over the last few months and why this series is so important. There are numerous different topics we're going to cover over the next little while with this series. One of them will be your gut and how to keep it happy. The next one, well, actually, a lot of this is going to revolve around our diets, how we eat, how we fuel our system, because our health really is correlated with our system. And if I put small amounts of sugar or salt in my gas, over time, my car is going to break down. And very often we don't look at the biggest source of why we don't feel well. And that, my friends, my beautiful friends out there listening, that is our diet. And diet seems to be this like absolute swear word. Diet. Bleh. Thing is, diet is really just how we're feeding ourselves. It's funny because it makes me think of back when I was in finance, we used to talk about budgets, and people would just think budgets were like the worst thing in the world. And I would tell them, I swear to God, it's not a diet. It's a snapshot. It's just an understanding of where you're at now. And when we look at our diets and what we're eating, more often than not, we have no idea what we're actually doing. I didn't know this until I made a massive change to my diet 2.5, 3 years ago. And what an overhaul that became. And man, did I really get to understand how to feed and fuel this body and how to get the optimum health from this body. I can honestly say I'm in probably pretty close to the best shape of my entire life. Although when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was in the best shape of my life, but I was kind of a maniac. I used to work out 6 days a week in the gym, which is crazy. Who does that? And I used to work out for 2.5 to 3 hours. That's bonkers. And no one should be doing this unless you are a high performing athlete, Olympian. Like, it just seems so ludicrous to be doing stuff like this. And it's absolutely not necessary for you to function in a really healthy manner that you have to work your body like that. You don't. A very interesting part of our health has a lot to do with how we feed this machine. So I want to share with you kind of some of the experiences that I've come across and what actually prompted me to create the series and what it prompted me to create. I knew I wanted to do a health series, but I had no idea I was going to create a health protocol. And I had no idea how big an issue this has become. I mean, I'm very aware that a lot of people are walking around with some serious symptoms. And I certainly don't take this lightly, and I certainly don't come from a space of judgment. This is no joke. So many people are experiencing depression, anxiety, chronic stress, chronic lethargia, brain fog. Those are some of the bigger ones that I think about. But then I look at also the actual symptoms of diabetes. Yes, these are illnesses, but these are symptoms of a greater problem. Diabetes, dementia, and dementia scares me, like really genuinely scares me. And this was what actually prompted me to make massive changes to my diet and my life about 3 years ago. When I started learning about dementia, Alzheimer's, the statistics honestly scared me to death. And I never, ever want to go into latter life knowing that I've sentenced myself to pain and suffering for the last 10 to 20 years of my life, or whatever it might be. I want to go into my latter life just as energetic or pretty damn close to what I experience now. And I know I can. So in this series, we're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about symptoms of greater problems. We're going to also talk about how to move past this and how to really get to the best health of your life. So over the last few months, I've had crazy conversations with people, but it really, really became very clear with one of my clients right now and why I set up the health protocol. So this particular person is experiencing an autoimmune disorder and diabetes. So diabetes type 2 is symptomatic of an inflammatory response in the system. So inflammatory diets and high sugars. We know that diabetes has everything to do with sugar, but more often than not, we don't really understand what sugar is doing in our body in general. And I had no idea how much sugar had infiltrated my life and how much I was actually eating until I changed it. And then when I got even more crazy into my, I feel like I'm an experimental guinea pig sometimes, but when I got more heavily involved in looking at the diet and looking at ways that we can really tweak and change things and alter our body contouring, that's when I really got to understand macros, micros, and how we are taking in things that we don't often understand that we're taking in. So he's got this disorder. And as soon as I heard about what was happening, I went, okay, I understand what's happening. And I understand what needs to be done here. And then when I sat with him the very first time, I realized how serious this is and how serious this is out there. Some of you are experiencing some of these symptoms, and I'm not laughing. I'm unbelievably saddened and certainly incredibly moved to take action and do something to really genuinely help you because, oh my God. So he's got this autoimmune disease that can ultimately kill him. It's got a lifespan. And it's moving to a space where he can't walk on his own. And he's not able to do the things that he used to do. And honestly, I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's okay for anyone not to have the power over their life to do the things that they want to do. I think everyone should have the power to create the lives they really truly want. And that's why we're here, right? Here it goes. Let's do this thing. Let's live this life. Let's own this life. And I don't ever want to come across, but I do all the time. I don't ever want to come across someone who can't own their life because there are things that are shackling and imprisoning them in the experience that they can't get out of. So I've got tools and I've got an understanding and I've got a deep depth of knowledge to take forward and really address some of these issues. So I sit with him, lengthy conversation, and I know exactly what needs to be done. So I set up a 3-part protocol, and it starts with overhauling the diet because the diet is first and foremost one of the biggest parts of your health. If I were to continuously stick small amounts of salt or sugar and I'm just using these as examples, but if I were to continuously stick these things in my gas and put them in my car, over a period of time, my car would break down. And that's really what we're doing to our bodies when we're not feeding them well. Our bodies are machines. They're being fueled. And we are looking at them so often from the space of, well, if I eat this sugar or if I eat this whole grain, but really what I look at it from is the response we have, the ability to absorb the nutrients. And when I say response, I'm also looking at your microbiota, or my microbiota, whose ever biome, that beautiful little colony, it's not so little, that sits within us. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So shortly after I take on this client, I'm very excited because I'm going to get him to a place where he walks again. I'm going to get him to a place where he dances again. I want to give him back his life so that he can actually live that life. And I'm positive he's going to live it in one of the most amazing ways, because when your life is threatened, when your life is sitting in a space of this is all there is and I don't have a choice, and then you get that back, usually you don't waste it. And I know he's a go-getter. I can't wait to watch him evolve into the person that he wants to be, not this person that's imprisoned. So shortly after this, I have this discussion with someone else. And this is amazing. They are telling me about their child and multiple doctors. And this is the same thing with this particular person that I've taken on as a client. Many doctors, and doctors get to a point where they don't know what to do. And autoimmune diseases are very interesting in the body because we don't know what causes them, but we really do know what causes them. It's the body attacking itself. And why does it do this? Again, I'll get back to that. So their child has seen multiple doctors and has had IBS, so inflammatory bowel syndrome, which again is an inflammatory disease. And it's been left alone for a long period of time, and now it's created even more symptoms because the underlying problem is still there. See, the thing is, very often we're looking at our health from a symptoms perspective, and our bodies are just manifesting more and more symptoms if we don't get to the root cause. So with this one, I was absolutely floored when they told me this. Seriously, I'm still in shock that this is what any medical professional had said. And I understand why this doctor has said this. And this is after seeing many doctors. This child is, well, not so much a child, they're in their 20s, but I understand why this doctor has gotten to this point. However, I do see that there are ways to treat this and not experience this. So this particular person has had some problems with IBS, and it's evolved into a place of, I have to take laxatives to be able to go to the bathroom. Now, laxatives in the body, do a whole bunch of things, and it depends on the laxative. Some of them are highly addictive. The body will stop actually doing what it needs to do when it requires the laxatives. So this person is now at almost 30 laxatives a day. I have never heard of something like that. And the doctor that she saw, very high-end doctor in Toronto, said, "Oh, it's not a big deal. I've got some clients who are on up to 50 a day." 50. Yes, I just said 50. To me, that seems so crazy, right? To you, does that seem crazy? Because to me, that just seems so crazy. And as I'm asking questions, because now this is prompting a million questions in the conversation, because now I'm absolutely curious why this is going on and when this started and other symptoms and what's really triggering the whole experience. So I find out more and more about this particular person, and I realize it's a gut biome that has not been corrected, and to continue suffering the way that this person has is heartbreaking. Then I ask more questions and discover that there are more underlying things that she's had happen in her life. And then case in point, I have a conversation with someone who I know, and I've known this person for quite a long time. And talk about mortification. When you find out someone that you've known for a long time has been suffering with depression. All of these three stories are all linked. I wonder, have you noticed the link yet? All three of these examples that I've encountered over less than a month's time period, and trust me, I encounter more and more, it feels like on a daily basis, where These are health issues that can be addressed and corrected, and we don't have to look at them from a symptom space. We can look at them from a root cause space and really address them and clear them so they never come back. And yes, I said that about some of the craziest things. Depression, yes, it is a symptom of something much, much deeper that's going on. And we truly can take control of our health and move forward in the most incredible way to own our life. We can truly own our lives. And that includes our health. The extra weight that you're carrying, you don't have to carry. The extra baggage that you're carrying, you don't have to carry. All of the crazy symptoms that are showing up, you don't have to experience them should you choose to not only inform yourself, but start to implement the changes that need to be made. I sit in a space that's very unique because I'm obsessive about research. And I realized this year, 2020, so we're barely into this year, but I realized this year how unbelievably important it is that I help as many people as I can. Because again, I know what it's like to spend the time going and researching. I know what it's like to try and find the answers and to go to professionals and not get them. And trust me, it's not that professionals don't want to give you the answers. Sometimes they just don't have them. When we look at autoimmune disorders and autoimmune diseases, we often have no clue why the body is attacking itself. When you look up autoimmune disorders, often the cause is unknown. The body is attacking itself. Why is the body attacking itself? There are a few reasons why the body is attacking itself. And over this series, we are going to talk about the gut biome, because your gut biome is first and foremost always going to be your biggest warrior within you when it comes to the physical part of you and your health. It is your immune system. It is your health, mental, serotonin, which is one of your neurotransmitters. Everybody knows serotonin to be like one of your happy neurotransmitters. There's a few of them, but serotonin is 95% produced in the gut. And your gut biome, which is the microbiota, is produced, it's in your gut, and it is your defense system. If you get sick a lot, it's because there's usually something going on with your gut biome. If you're experiencing some weird symptoms like allergies that came out of nowhere, joint pain on a regular basis that's not due to an injury, or that's prolonged an injury. So I had a sports injury as a kid, and therefore now as an adult, I still experience pain. Guess what? There's usually something else going on there too, because that's inflammation. And we can truly take control and be in the best health of our lives. And I mean mental, and it sounds so funny, but your mental health also starts in your gut. Serotonin being your happy. Guess what? Melatonin is linked to serotonin. If you're not sleeping, it's linked to your gut more often than not. And the most incredible part when we get into the discussion around microbiome, which I think I'll do in next week's podcast, and I swear to God, if you miss this, you are pleading ignorance. And I don't want to say this from a space of being a jerk. I'm saying this because it's such crucial information for you to know, to move forward and really, really take control of your health. And I don't say this lightly. Your microbiome controls a lot in your body, and it is truly another brain in your body. Our brains are not the only thing creating our world and creating our lives. Our microbiome, your microbiota or your biome or your culture, whatever you want to call it. I sometimes call it the party. But really, it's your biome. Are it's 100 trillion bacteria that live on and in you. And these beautiful little things are literally signaling the brain to release this hormone, to create this neurotransmitter, to do things, and the brain facilitates. They are signaling our bodies to do things for us, and some of those things are really beneficial, and some of those things are not. So in next week's podcast, we are going to talk about the microbiome, and the weeks to follow, we're going to talk about different things that we can do to adjust our everyday worlds to really help with our health. Because honestly, you should be able to be in the best health of your life anytime. Anytime. And when I'm coming across cases of people in their 20s with autoimmune disorders and inflammatory diseases and kids that are experiencing problems with diabetes type 2, not type 1, type 2 is diet related. I'm mortified. I'm terrified. I am really genuinely scared of where we're headed. And I feel like we're this gigantic social experience or experiment that we never agreed to. And it literally is a matter of us having a very clear understanding of what's going on with us and how we can change it. And it's not, I promise you, it is not as bad as you think. It's not a diet where you have to count calories and starve yourself and do all these crazy things. It's not like that. I remember when this all started for me. It all started with a book. And once I read it, I went, oh my God, I cannot unknow this. I cannot go silently into the night, because I would literally be giving myself a very different outcome for the rest of my life. And I knew that after I read the book. And it started there. But then after that, a lot of experimentation and a lot of research has brought me down this path. I'm going to share that with you over these next episodes in this health series. I will have some experts come in and we will discuss things like sugar. There's a lot of misunderstanding around sugar. And what is healthy and what is not. And I want you guys to know, truly, truly know, that when we make changes, it doesn't mean that we have to starve ourselves. It doesn't mean that we have to give up all the things that we love in life. It just means that there's a period of adjustment. And let me tell you, you might laugh at this. So for my birthday, someone very dear to me bought me a cake, and they know that I don't eat this kind of stuff. Trust me, I like cake, but I've also gotten to a point now where I would probably make that myself because I use different ingredients now, and that's okay because I found ways to still really enjoy the foods that I love to eat. Like I love chocolate, and I still love ice cream, and I still love cake. And honestly, I have a weakness for donuts. See, lots of baked stuff, right? I have a sweet tooth. And I found ways to do this in a really healthy way so that I'm benefiting my body and creating the body and the health that I really want. I now sit at the same weight I did in high school. I'm healthy. I have tons of energy, and mental cognition for me is primary. The weight is a nice bonus, but mental cognition and my ability to recall and retain information is key and paramount for my success in life. And maybe it's because, I don't know, I'm a seeker of knowledge, and I always have been. And now at this stage in my life, I want to be able to translate that to you. I really want to be able to give that to you. So I want to give you that in efficient ways and effective ways, and not in ways that are stumped or stalled or tired, where I'm tired all the time. I want health to be in the forefront of how I move forward in this life, not sitting in the background going, yeah, I'll get to that sometime, or this is just the way it is as we get older, because that's not true. It's not true. And we're going to explore that over this series. So I'm really glad you guys are here along for the journey. And I gave you these examples for a reason. The gut biome is something we're going to talk about in the next episode. And then after that, we're going to kick off with our first expert, who's going to talk about sugar. And we're going to talk about sugar in all its forms, from fruit all the way down And there's multiple levels to this, all the way down into its refined form. And then alternatives that we can still enjoy that can be healthy for us and that allow us to feed our bodies in ways that are beneficial, not the salt or sugar going into the gas tank. So I am very, very excited to give you this series. And I hope you get as much out of it as I'm about to give you. Even if you just get one or two things out of this series, implement them. Implement them. Use them. Discover your health. And if you want more help with that, I do have a protocol that will literally get you in the best shape of your life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And yes, I did say spiritually. I know this sounds so woo-woo, and it sounds like, and trust me, I'm not sitting here touting God or not touting God. I don't mean from that level. I mean, we are electrical magnetic beings. We are energetic beings. And if we don't address all of us when we're looking at our health, we're missing out on our greatest health in this space. So I make sure that when I look at someone's health, I'm addressing all of it. I want to make sure that I get to the truest, deepest levels of you so that you live your fullest potential. Fullest. So my beautiful peeps, beautiful peeps, I'm super stoked to kick off the health series, and really, whatever you do, come listen to next week's, because it'll be fun, but it's also eye-opening, and it's going to explain a lot to you about what's going on in your body and how important it is to make sure that you got really happy, healthy gut moving with you and helping you. Just like we talk about how to get your brain to work with you instead of against you, because we have a very interesting mechanism inside that works with us or against us. And it's the same thing with our microbiome. So we want to make sure that it's functioning at its absolute best, so we do too. Until next week, my beautiful, beautiful peeps, have an absolutely extraordinary week.